cannot handle real work reality talk 80+9 with simply scripted video.
Vlog number 100, I think 116, and just finished. I did 13 rounds, and if you watch my vlogs for the first time, I train every day. The thing is never about bragging, it's just maybe a little bit maybe motivation and or inspiring that a 46-year-old fart like myself can do it. The thing is, I made a promise on I think Instagram story and to myself that I would do 12 rounds, but you know, in the previous vlog I talked about keeping your word, and you know, in the first place to yourself, that is I think the most important thing. So for example, I said that I would do 12 rounds of 3 minutes. I did actually 13. But this is the thing what I want to say with this, you know, what if I would just say at 11 or round number 10, you know, why would I do it? Why would I keep my word? You know, the thing is, the only person that would know is me. And you know, and it's not about, yeah, personally I cannot live with this. I go also to another point with this, because you know, this is keeping your word to yourself, and I think that stacks up, especially when you keep your word, the word to yourself, when it's about discipline, good habits, a lot of good habits. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm constantly touching the camera. A lot of good habits, like for example giving compliments, and or you know, being very polite, increasing the speaking from my personal I'm saying things that I want to improve for myself every single day. If you watch my vlogs for the first time, I am literally obsessed with everything. My name is Baron, aka Dotcom Baron. Everything is online and I do everything from the phone. I don't own almost anything in the real world except 2 suitcases. And not only that, I'm sharing a lot of strategies, I'm giving a lot of stuff away. Next to that, you can download everything for free, and I'm gonna get to one automation thing that I'm giving away, a bundle. The thing is, when I keeping the word to yourself, let's stay on topic. That is a little bit my problem, you know, in my vlogs, that I jump from things to things because I want to say so many things in a short amount of time. But okay, when it's about keeping your word to yourself, you know, at one point in the beginning you might think, yeah, that's not so important, right? Who would know? But I do believe this, you know, once you start slacking maybe one time, you know, why not a second time? And I also believe when you start stacking the size of the things that you would, let's say, would slack or lie about to yourself, you know, it stacks up, and at one point you don't know what's real anymore. I do believe in this, and that is the same also. So for example, I'm going to do a little bit of subject. I had people working for me who used pretty much the whole day through a lot of drugs. Yeah, you can judge me on this, but the thing is, I also used boatloads of drugs. But the thing is, those people, their world was pretty much constantly, you know, they're using drugs. The thing is, and that's the thing, same with lying, you know, you don't know what's real anymore. And I do believe also this, when you want to live a life of freedom and feel fulfillment without feeling paranoid and or anxious or let's say depressed, you know, you need to be as close as possible to the point of reality. And of course that will grow with the ages and maybe not, but there are a lot of people don't want to mature also emotionally and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, when it's about emotionally maturing, you know, it took me a long time that I became a little bit more calmer. I was not always like this. I'm 46 now. After my 40s, you know, I became a little bit more calm. But that doesn't mean that I lost my, let's say, my obsession, because I'm now obsessed with spreading as much the word as possible, and the strategies. I'm just giving everything for free. When it's about also giving away for free, you have to submit your email so I can keep in contact with you, and maybe along the way, when you have things rolling, you know, you're willing to invest with me and that kind of stuff. So I'm very transparent also about this. The thing is, every time I'm trying to increase the value. So the store is already online. Every week I add new things. So for example, today I added the make.com scenarios. When it's about the scenarios, I made also a short about one scenario. It's about distributing the YouTube videos. But first you extract the YouTube title, description and link to your Google Sheet, and from there I will build it out, and I will explain this in another video. And like this you can distribute your video links to, for example, Tumblr, Reddit, Twitter, of X I mean, and Facebook pages, groups, and with make.com. So that means a lot of distribution. I'm not getting too deep into this, but like I said, also in one, yeah, I already start jumping again. The thing is, okay, when it's about the distribution, I always recommend, you know, I mentioned one strategy so you can start building your audiences. You know, and very quickly from Pinterest you download an image, you put it on your, in this case, Facebook page, hashtag, title, description, and along the way you grow it. But the thing is, like I always say, try to do it first manually so you understand what's happening, and then you automate it with one of the scenarios that I'm giving away. When it's about also in the store, you can see it on top, it says latest giveaways, and every week I'm updating this one. And yeah, you have to come multiple times back because I'm now adding scenarios. Let's say, let's put it a little bit so it gives me a little bit freedom, otherwise I'm very stuck to it. I think every 2 weeks I will add a new scenario, which I am testing very thoroughly. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but the thing is, that's what I'm doing. And all the scenarios that I'm sharing, I'm using them personally. And of course there are very complicated ones that I'm not sharing yet, because that requires a long explanation video, but you can automate pretty much everything, like communication with your clients, lead generation, lead nurturing, lead conversion. You know, I talk with so many people that do a lot of non-stop talking on the phone, but you know, those people, I try to explain this sometimes, but a couple of times I did, and the thing is, that is a loss of time. And that's why the daily vlogging journey, I just say them once, and maybe the right person bumps into it and says, hey, that's valuable for me, you know. And like this, I only have to say it once, distribute the videos. Then with the make.com scenario, I distribute the video to all the other platforms, automate a lot of stuff. I got over 950, I'm lying over here, 936, I think, total of videos only on this Dotcom but on channel. So those will all be distributed with, you know, with descriptions. They're all going to be AI generated, you know, the titles and description, because manually that would require a lot of work. The thing is, it's just to be massively out there. So where was I? So, and this is, you can download it in the store for free. So next to that, also in the store, you can find the Google Sheet that I mentioned multiple times for the 1 minute, the 13-step 1 minute exercise thing. You can do this everywhere you are, in your place of business, in your hotel, in front of the television, and it only takes 1 minute. Once, of course, in the beginning you need a little bit practicing, you know, so you can understand the 13 steps, but you train your whole body. Doesn't require a lot of time, it doesn't require any gym subscriptions, personal trainers, and or whatever that could cost you money up front before even seeing the results. This is a 13-step 1 minute video. The explanation thing, I will put it somewhere over here, or maybe you see it at the end. Just on YouTube search 1 minute, no, 13-step 1 minute exercise set. That's the name. Vlog number 100. If I don't forget it, I put it over here, a little B-roll, pop-up, whatever you want to call it. But I also stopped doing the B-rolls because it took me too much time, and the amount of content that I want to spit out by speaking, you know, is way much more valuable thing, I think, at this moment where I'm at now, when it's about my YouTube venture. Because at the moment I got 402 subscribers. If you didn't subscribe yet, help me out, motivates me a little bit, and maybe along the way I can. No, I don't want to get into this YouTube monetization thing. It's more or less trying to reach the right people, you know, the people who see the value in it by listening to an old fart of 46 who lived a very colorful life, did a lot of stuff, and actually does everything from the phone now because he understands a lot of stuff when it's about automation, structures, and mainly my main thing, and I'm always trying to carve out where is my power, where is my desire, my hunger. My hunger is simply communication. Communicating with people from all kind of levels in society, which was always there deep inside of me. And not only this, I did this in many countries. I brought a lot of people from different levels of society together in the past who did not deserve to sit with each other, but also, you know, I brought those people together. And I know I did always things like this, and still I got, and now because of all the red flags that I'm sharing in the vlogs, those are strategies that I'm also practicing to keep my relations very clean, but also that I don't get bitten in the ass by new people anymore, because I have been bitten in the ass in so many different ways, in a very life destructing ways. I lost once over 3 years of time, and I'm still in one process of cleaning up somebody else's mistake. And I don't have any grudge against anyone who did, because those were very hard and very, let's say in my case, precious lessons, because I can now talk about it, because there was also a part involved. It's called forgiveness. You know, how many people would not forgive somebody if he or she would lose 3 years because of somebody else's mistake, and then a whole group of people go against you, you know. And it's not the first time. There are multiple situations that I got bitten in the ass by other people. They're slacking of, let's say, emotional things, physical maturity, any kind of things that other people were lacking that would get them in trouble. I was the idiot in general who preferred or loved to solve those problems for people, while they did not deserve my my loyalty. You know, that's another thing. Because in this beginning of this vlog, I talked about, you know, keeping the word to yourself in the first place. And then I also mentioned something. There is a point that I want to go, which is now, you know, keep only your word to people who actually deserve your loyalty. And that is really something that I want to hammer on for people who are a little bit more than the average person, you know, that they say, yeah, he's my friend, I will do everything for him. Well, test them. Really test people. I'm warning you, and yeah, this is a warning, because people like me, we don't have limits, you know. We you know, we don't say from, okay, not now. No, everything is now. So, and there's a lot of people who are not like this, and those people don't deserve that kind of loyalty, that level of loyalty, of it, let's say, obsession with making things happen. But also, you know, if there are problems, that those problems will be solved. Because when I went homeless for the first time, or lost everything at 30, well, the amount of people that picked up were close to zero, and one person who that I needed a little bit of stay for the night, said, "Nee, not now. Maybe after 2 weeks or something." And then I said, "Let's go to Bulgaria to survive." That's how I ended up in Bulgaria. Do I blame anything on other people? No. I had to learn this way, because otherwise I would still have been a very reckless and, you know, not in control, but also not, I wouldn't also be able to share this with people. So all the red flags that I'm talking about in my vlogs is not about saying how bad the people are, not at all. You know, I love people, I love to talk with people, but I know where my boundaries should be now, and every day I'm increasing this, but also making them aware in any kind of, let's say, relationship, you know, that they know where the boundaries are, but also that I have to keep my own feelings in boundaries, you know, because I'm obsessed, you know, I want to help as many people as possible, but you cannot help anyone who doesn't want to help themselves, and or doesn't have the need to help themselves. You know, that there are so many levels for one specific kind of you know, I don't need. If somebody says I don't need, there are so many different kind of things that the label I don't need would swirl in the spectrum of, you know, the circumstances, mindset, a lot of things, you know. And I think that's very interesting, and that makes life for me every day like freaking Disney World. I love to, yeah, and I meet every day new people, maintaining relationships, and also, you know, I try to keep people also walking a little bit on their toes. You know, I'm also very straightforward when they ask me something. I never bullshit around the bush. You know, I also, let's mention one red flag: sneering comments. So for example, one example of one guy, and I got so many, but let's mention this one. He also, and he is actually a guy who has some kind of audience, but the thing is, he walks around in a suit. But he said also multiple times, yeah, Dylan, you're always aiming for the sky. Yeah, well, that is nice to say, but if I would have said, because I spared him at this time, if I would have said, what do you mean exactly with this, then he would say, no, it's a joke. That's the kind of people. So sneering comments just to put you a little bit down, and or that they feel a little bit better for about themselves, which actually goes hand in hand, right? If you try to put other people down, you know, you try to make yourself feel better about your own current situation, maybe your own mindset. Again, there's a whole thing what people could wrestle with, you know, their circumstances, maybe their mental state on a longer term, shorter term. Maybe the girlfriend broke up, short term. Longer term, they feel overweighted, how to get rid of this. They need to feel a little bit better about themselves and justify their current habits, you know. And a very good habit I think that everybody should implement, and of course it requires time, effort, and you know, you start with keep the word to yourself. And again, you know, in the beginning I said I'm going to do 12 rounds times 3 minutes, and I ended up doing 13 rounds. And yeah, then I feel good about myself, because if I would have, let's say, oh, let's do 11 or 9, and I walk away, I can never turn back the time, you know. And maybe in the beginning it would feel good because I was really exhausted, you know, after round 8, because before I went into this stadium, this is Stadium Septembri in Krasnopolyana, Sofia, Bulgaria, just to let you know, in case you want to do the boxing thing on these tires. And this is another fun fact: somebody who followed me on Instagram, he said, he stopped me on the street and he said, you know, a friend of mine, he put the tires over there, and he showed me videos of those tires while he was using them in his friend's basement, and now they're hanging over here. So, you know, that's very nice. I think that's very nice, because like the social media, right, I see it maybe in a whole different way than, let's say, the younger people, but I see it as just an incredible extension of a possible communication with people you might never know, meet, and or engage with. You know, I'm from a time that we had to use the phone like, you know, this round thing. I don't know how to say this in English because I grew up in Holland. I don't even know how to tell the name and how do you say this in Dutch anymore. The thing is, yeah, ring telephone. I don't know. If you know it, just drop a comment. So yes. So, but I was always already very interested in the communication thing, although it never was so much, you know, that I emphasized on this, because I was a very total over the top idiot. And so for example, between my 20s and 30s, I was totally all overboard. My talent of my ambition was way much higher than my talent. That also bit me in the ass, of course, in combination with boatloads of drugs and alcohol at one point. Especially when my stepmother died at 29, I put it in a higher gear. Yeah, and I'm not proud of it, but I'm sharing this. And the thing is, I used a lot of drugs in my life. And the thing is, again, is not to be bragging or to be proud of, but when I say something, I speak from experience. I know the reasons why not to do stuff. So for example, there are people in the past that told me, if you do drugs, then I'm gonna beat you up. Well, if they would have said, you know, this is the reason why you should not do drugs. Let me give you one reason. You sync very quickly with people you would never, without drugs, sync with. And that is something to think about. So that you don't need to put in effort to build a relationship, you know. That is one of a major problem, I do believe. Not only, and that's besides the health thing. What else? What else do I think that is really shitty? Take this one. I'm not gonna talk too much about drugs, but the thing when it's about cocaine, does one thing: it takes away the smiles of people. You never see a people who use for the whole night that they laugh having the best time ever. You don't. I have never seen it. If you are one of those users and they say, yeah, we laugh our ass off while we're doing this, I don't believe this. And yeah, okay, I will believe it, but the thing is, I've used with many groups, and it was always at one point, and when you one night or 2 nights awake, then you start focusing totally on the bullshit. Anyway, again, I'm not trying to entice people at all or try to do anything with drugs. Better not. Anyway, keeping the word to yourself. Well, let's connect it with the drug thing. Yeah, some people really start exposing the real nature of themselves, the real character, right? And one of them is, again, they're not keeping their words. And if you're a guy who likes to develop things and then you make appointments with people who use boatloads of drugs, well, that's the end of the road, people. And I also had once, yeah, call me crazy, but this was a former junkie, pretty much ended up without an apartment and everything. I gave him an apartment, I gave him a job, and in the end, you know, he disappeared. Of course, not before destructing one apartment, because he was totally hammered, passed out, fire brigade had to come over there. Then we put him in another apartment. You know, some people are simply don't want to get help. And what I also know from this guy, he spoke even bad about me, that I forced him to smoke more bullshit. Yeah. And the thing is, I don't mention, if you're watching this, I'm not mentioning your name, I will never, because that would give you too much credit. But the thing is, you know, that's the kind of people, the category, they never want to be helped. And yeah, they might have a great heart or whatever, great intention, but you know, they slow you down. And let me mention one other example. I also had one other guy who was totally addicted to amphetamines. He started working for me in the beginning, you know, too late. I went to his house multiple times. I had to drive 15 kilometers to his home to pick him up. And that's not the only one. I also had one working in one of my in the bar. He also was always too late. Yeah, and then you might think, yeah, what a bad judgment. Yeah, you're totally right. I had very bad judgment. I always, you know, handled from my heart. I think, okay, these people will change. These people will, you know, do their best once they see a little bit something different, you know, different people from my side, my behavior. And of course, my behavior was far away from what I'm now. But, you know, I always had my my heart at a good place, but the thing is, it was uncontrolled. And that's why I'm sharing this now. I'm very aware of myself. I'm also very aware of the mistakes that I made. I made boatloads of mistakes. I think I made more mistakes than most people, whole families all together, all the families together. Let's say normal people then. And I want to share those experiences, not only this, but also the thoughts and the current experiences that I have with people. You know, I do believe you can learn a lot from it. That's what I think. And next to that, I'm giving away the so I mentioned the Google Sheet, so you can start training. 1 minute thing. What do you do with this sheet? You track your progress. So you start with maybe 1 set per day. Only takes you 1 minute. Then you do the next week, you do 3 a day, for example. But you continue till the rest of your days, to the end of your days. See, and then you will start seeing progress. Because this is another thing. Hey, you can, let's say you're a young guy and you start swirling around. You're gonna do MMA, you're gonna do boxing, you're gonna do calisthenics, but there is no structure in it, you know, no increasement. You don't track the amount of rounds, for example. You don't track this and this, you know. Then it takes you way much longer to get ridiculously in shape. I'm just sharing those things because I do believe the amount of time that people sometimes spend at the gym and the amount of years, I look at them and I think, yeah, no disrespect, and those people are very strong, but you know, in my case, I like to be, you know, an aesthetic physique. So I'm not the biggest guy. I'm 1.74 m, and I just don't want to, you know, big huge shoulder, testosterone shoulders and all that kind of stuff. All my stuff is real, because this is another thing. When it's about testosterone, I never used it, but what I do believe in, if your muscles grow like this, you didn't have to put in the work. That is really would be required if I would do it. So for example, if I had to do it without testosterone, you know, big shoulders and everything, really buff, I have to eat every 2 hours. Well, I don't want to spend that amount of time. I'm also totally not into this. The thing is, because why I'm not into this? Because I know how colorful life can be. What if I end up in a situation that I cannot eat for, let's say, 4 days? Been there, done that. You know, for example, you go, you get arrested. No, okay, then all that work just shovels away. So for me, that is not a compounding action. Let's say it like this, and this is how I think. I prefer to be mentally incredibly resilient and physically. So you know, if I stop training for 30 days, I tried it once for I think 10 days not training, and I think I even got a little bit more buffy, because you know, now I'm doing this every day, so I'm burning everything away every day. It would be good to take a little day off, just only walk. But yeah, now yeah, this is vlog 116. In the end, keep your word, subscribe. Try to get rid of a couple of losers. And by the way, my vlogs are for people who are actually, you know, focused on personal growth, try to automate a lot of processes in their life and their businesses, because it is possible to automate so much stuff. See, I see those angles, you know, and also when I see normal business people, hence I call them self-employed people, they're not even the business owners, because you know they take money from the bank. You know, who are you working for the bank, and then also you still need to go to the business and sit over there. So you know, and that is no disrespect, they're already doing more than a majority of people who are 9-to-5ers, but still, you know, that's not something that you want. You don't want to buy yourself a job, and while you're also sometimes, many times, can automate so many processes, and also you increase the yield of your effort, you know, increase it. So for example, and I talked about this before, people who sell products, you know, you give me money, I give you a product, boom. Again, there's so many things in between that could increase the value of this single client, not only taking his money, but giving him value, perceived value, real value, and then they're coming back, and you can collect details. See, I'm not going now into details about doing the lead collection for offline people, but one little thing, you can install an app on your phone, and of course it goes in combination with offer creation and a little bit training for tonality, how to bring it to the people on the spot. But we're not getting into this vlog. I talked long enough in one single clip. That's it, vlog number 116. Visit the store, subscribe or don't, but if you think this is very interesting sometimes to listen to this idiot like me, share it with your friends. Ciao.